Hi dear students, let us start today with the writing section of your grammar, and the first topic for us will be article writing. Before we go further, first of all, let us know what is this article? What do you mean by an article? Or what do you mean by an article writing? Now, many a times you might have come across newspapers, magazines, or any form of journals where there is a piece of writing related to a particular matter, related to a particular topic. It can be related to an event, it can be related to a person's life, or even a place or someone's experience. Right? Now, an article is such a piece of writing which usually is intended for publication in newspaper or magazine or even journal. And when we write article, we must keep in mind that this particular piece of writing, it is not written only for ourselves, or the reader of this particular piece. It's not that it will be limited only to few people or among our close group. No, we must keep in mind that this article is written for a wide audience, and therefore when we write an article, it is very much important for us to attract and to retain the reader's attention. Our writing must contain such things which will attract the reader's attention. Let me give an example. When you read stories, correct? Some of the stories, you get very much interested towards it. You get deep into the stories. And whereas, at times, there are even some stories which you don't find interesting at all. You just read at the most the first or one or two paragraph, and then you don't feel like reading at all. Why? Because that writing is not able to pull your attention. So same way, when we write an article, we must keep one thing in mind which is very important, is that our writing should be able to draw the attention of the reader towards it. Next, what is very important while writing an article is that your article, it can be some amusing stories, it can be our descriptions, or it can be even in reported speech as well. Okay, your article can include stories or reported speech or even descriptions as well. That depend upon the type of writing. Next comes that next point which we have to keep in mind while writing an article is that depending upon the audience. Now, for example, you are writing an article, say for your school magazine, all right? Now, when you write an article for your school magazine, first of all, you must know that who is going to be your audience. That means who is going to read your article. Now, this particular magazine will go to each and every house of your friends. It may even go to their relatives' house. So, the readers can vary from different background, different age groups, right? So therefore, when you write an article, you must always keep in mind the target audience, that who is going to read my article. And depending upon that, You have to use your language. The best form of language for an article writing would be formal language. Next point which we have to keep in mind is that about an article is your article must be written in an interesting or entertaining manner. As I told you in the beginning itself, that if the main objective of your article is to draw, to pull, to attract the attention, the interest of the readers, and if your article is not an interesting piece of writing, or if it is not in an entertaining manner, then definitely readers won't find any interest towards your writing. So what you have to do is that you have to write in such a way that it becomes interesting or entertaining. Next point that we have to take note while writing an article is that your article must give opinions, and it can also give thoughts, your thought process, your opinion, as well as facts. And the last most important point while writing an article is that, as I told you, that depending upon your target audience, the language of the article must be framed in that manner. And since I told you that it's better to go with a formal language, but when you write in a formal language, you must not make the style of writing so formal that it becomes a kind of report writing. There, the language has to be less formal as compared to a report writing, as there's a difference between report writing and an article writing. Or else, if you write your article in the style of a report, that would be no more an article writing. Let us go to the next topic. As we have seen the first topic, that what is an article. Now let us see what does an article do, or what does the article comprise of. An article describes an experience, event, person, or even it describes about a place. And in an article, the article presents an opinion or a kind of a balanced argument. Now, for example, if you're writing an article about, say, your favorite, say for example, you're writing an article about our city, Guwahati. Now, when you write an article about Guwahati, so you have to write in such a manner that your article is balanced. It doesn't mean that you will be writing only about the good points about Guwahati. At the same time, you will also have to show some of the points where the city lacks. So which means you have to balance your article. Next comes, an article can compare and contrast. What do you mean by comparing? What does compare mean? To compare between two or more than two things or anything. Contrast. Now, when you write an article, it is not always necessary that your article must support the point which the question is asking you to do. Your article even gives some contrast point with regard to the question. Next comes, article can provide information. When we read some article, many things, we gather many information, many knowledge by reading a piece of article, even without experiencing that by our own self, just through reading. So your article must also provide information. Next comes suggestions. An article can even offer suggestion. Now, as I told you, say you're writing an article about Guwahati, and in that particular article, as per your opinion, you found some loopholes about the city. So in the same article, you can also provide some suggestions to the administration so that those loopholes can be taken care of. An article can also offer advice. Many a times we read article about good manners, good behaviors, right? What do we find in those articles? You will see some advice or the other is being mentioned. What must we do? What must we not do? Right? So this is called an advice. Now, in order to make your article a realistic one, it must consist some of the very most important things. Let us see the next topic, that what does a realistic article consist of. First of all, a realistic article should consist of an eye-catching title which attracts the reader attention and suggests the theme of the article. Say for example, at some point or the time we have gone across newspapers, right? The moment you grab the newspaper in your hand, what do the very first thing? Generally you see, generally people, they don't start reading the whole paper, right from the first page from the top till the bottom of the page at the end, the last page. No, people don't do that generally. Usually you will find people reading the title of the news of that particular section, and whichever section, whichever portion someone finds the title to be interesting, they prefer to read that particular news first. So what does it mean? The title plays a very important role, and it has to be, eye-catching. So that just by reading the title must compel the reader to read the entire piece of writing. Your title has to be in such a manner. Next comes an introduction. The introduction of an article should clearly define the topic which is to be covered, and introduction should be such that the reader does not lose his or her attention. In the introduction itself, you must define the entire topic which you are going to cover up in this particular piece of writing, so that the reader looks for reading more and more. Next point, in order to make an article realistic, the entire body of the article, don't write it in one paragraph, a kind of a long story. No, don't do that. You can break it into at least minimum 2 paragraphs, 2 to 5, at the most 5 paragraphs, so that the entire topic is developed in detail. And lastly, the most important point, the conclusion. The conclusion should be such that it summarizes the entire topic, or kind of a final opinion, of the piece of writing which you have described. It can be a recommendation or even a command. So, if you keep in mind these 4 points, your article would be very much realistic. So, that's enough for today. There are also some other points which we have to look into in order to write an article. We shall discuss those points in the next class. Thank you.